pointed out, Switzerland is a very strong research nation. Of course, we are 40 times smaller than the US, so clearly, number-wise, the United States is much more important. But if you take the relative numbers, then I think we can nicely compete. There are areas where we are even number one if related to the size of the population. For instance, in the publication output, we are by far number one, much higher than the United States. But I don't want just to bombard you with numbers, but just to say we can be proud. Now, but there are certain things. If you are small, I always bring this example. If you are small, then your ratio between surface and volume is very much different than if you're large. And this means that you can only survive if you have an intensive exchange with your environment. And that's the case in Switzerland. 60% of PhD students at my school, ETH in Zurich, are coming from abroad. And we have heard already, we have many foreign professors. We try to attract the best. And that's nothing bad in a globalized world that we have this competition. I think it's very important. So much I would say Swiss and US, we are in many respects even, but again, we can certain things we cannot do without having cooperation with other groups. For instance, if we want to be in a project, it may be that the partner in a project of a Swiss group, the best partner, does not live in Switzerland. So we had to invent in the National Science Foundation schemes that we can, even if it's necessary, pay this partner in order, let's say, for the benefit of the Swiss science. A large country has a bigger chance to find the optimum partner in its own country. I'll give you another example. If you want to do clinical research, in certain diseases, you simply don't have enough patients in a very small population. So you need cooperation with other countries, Europe or the United States. Now, second point, Swiss and Europe. Switzerland in Europe, again, as it was said, is very nicely integrated. But again, as a small country within Europe, we try to lead the way of cooperation, to break up the boundaries. And I will say something about this boundary. And that's why we work in the direction of what we call a European Grand Union. One big union where people can apply for money, where people can freely move, where people can take their pension fund and health insurance from one country to the other. Now we immediately see certain things we can do at the National Science Foundation, at the Deutsche Forschungsgemeinschaft, at CNRS. It's our business to have the proper tools. But we cannot do all the things, especially not the political ones, about working permit, about health insurance issues. There we need the government. We need the governments, and that's why the cooperation with the EU is important. And now, this brings me now to EU and the US. If you go to Brussels, you realize that people are preoccupied with the saying the European research area is very much behind the United States, and that's because we are fragmented. Because we have 27 member states plus a few associated, they all have their own ideas about doing science, whereas in the United States there is one homogeneous force to work into one direction and in the other direction. And the result of that is that the Europeans very often in Brussels say we have to coordinate everything and all the research money has to go through Brussels. That's where our point, where we come in, where I, for instance, come in as the president of EUROHORC to say, no, it's like in sport. You cannot just have one Champions League. You need local organizations, and these are the local research organizations. And they have to be there according to a very important political principle in Switzerland, according to the subsidiarity principle. We should do things at the lowest possible level and only move up to the high coordination level if it's necessary.